Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's that time of the week where we're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit our shelves. Let's check them out. All right, so we know you guys have been looking forward to this. We've been teasing it on our social media channels this last week. Our latest Spyderco exclusive is here, and it is a Para 3, the latest in our smooth G10 series of their USA-made knives with Cru-Wear blades, black coated in this case. That's a black DLC, and everything else is kind of blacked out to go along with it. Apart from like the blade markings and the edge itself, we've got pretty much no reflective edges. A little bit there on the flared tube, but black clip, black screws and hardware, black compression lock, black coating. Very, very cool and subtle look going on. Subtle but menacing, because this is not exactly a subtle shape overall. And price on these are coming in about $165. And we did work to get a really good quantity of these, but not sure how fast these are gonna move. So if you are interested, I wouldn't wait too long because once these are gone, if they do come back, it's gonna be a very long time before they do. With the Para 3, you've got a sub 3-inch blade, which you'll see in a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit of a theme today. Full flat grind, very aggressive profile. When held in the handle, that makes sense.
No.
When you hold the knife in the hand, thank you, Thomas. When you hold the knife in the hand, the tip sits down very naturally, points forward quite aggressively, and kind of on that handle aspect, it's one of the things I've always liked about the Para 3, especially for me. I sometimes do need a 3-inch blade when I'm going certain places. You can still get a full-sized grip on the handle. Even if you don't choose to use the forward finger choil to choke up a little bit, I've still got 3.5 fingers when I'm back behind that choil there. So a lot of meat to grab onto, very secure hold on this shorter blade, so you've got a lot of control and a lot of power as well, especially when you push into that thumb ramp. You really feel you can push through some heavier cuts very nicely. And with this kind of blade shape, you're gonna be able to slice pretty well also. Now the smooth G10 in this case is not completely smooth. There is just a little bit, it's not so much a texture, but essentially imagine like a textured G10 that's then sanded smooth, but not all the way through the little raised bits. So you can see there's still a few little quote unquote voids in there. Gives you a very nice feel. There's a little bit of traction without it being bitey at all. Has a nice matte feel to it, like M-A-T-T-E, I should say. Just feels really good. It's not gonna tear up your pockets, but it's still gonna hold very nicely when you put it to work. Standard folded clip is black, and you've got 4 positions, so you can carry it any which way you like. That oversized lanyard tube at the back, so you can add fobs or whatever you want there. And the compression lock, very nice. You can do that little flicky action or do the more deliberate stuff if you like. Very strong and very, very cool knife. We've got some new variants on some of our exclusives, and I think this is one that a lot of folks have really been waiting for. The black coated blade version of the modified Wharncliffe Deka from Hogue with our exclusive red G-Mascus handles. That's a G10 with a kind of a random pattern layering going on. Always has looked very cool, and this is priced the same as the standard versions with the black blade, about $148 and a little bit of change. Now the black parts of that G-Mascus definitely pull the tone of the blade into the handle really nicely, and all of the hardware on this is black as well, rather than being a bright chrome polish or anything like that. So it's very subtle. The screws kind of blend in a little bit more, and then you got the standard pocket clip that's reversible for both sides. You got the blockout plate for the side you're not using, and again, being black, it helps minimize it a little bit. You've also got in the handle Hogue's Able Lock, which is what they call their version of their crossbar lock. Always feels fantastic out of the box. It's got a nice, smooth, rotational opening. You don't have to do the wrist flick, of course. You can open it and close it more conventionally if you wish, but the feel is one of a kind. They definitely step up the game with their execution of this style of lock. Back to the blade, 3¼ inches, modified Wharncliffe as I said. And we call it that because it's a bit of a hybrid shape that's a little hard to classify, but in terms of how it behaves in use, that probably gets you closest to what it actually is here. You've got 2 main straight edges and 2 different grind angles. It is a compound grind, both of them flat, and the leading edge ground portion is a little bit higher, but not much. It's mostly for aesthetics, but you do get slightly better slicing efficiency out here near the tip versus more strength behind the edge at the back. Again, talking just a few degrees of difference here. And then you've got a swedge along the spine, helps things move through, or helps you move through materials on that leading edge as well. And that very acute point, CPM 20 CV steel, American-made steel, American-made knife, awesome price as well. Next up, we've got another exclusive from another brand, but you can see how we kind of like to echo a little bit on some of the exclusive patterns we have out there. Unlike some folks out there, we don't do all our exclusives exactly the same way, but there are some themes we like to hit on, and the CJRB Ria is now hitting this red and black theme that we really enjoy. New version here, a bit more expensive, coming in at $75, but there's some upgrades which I'll get into as we go. Blade itself, still 3 inches long, and we've got the RPM 9 powder metallurgy steel here, so definite step up from the 12C27 on the base models. Black coating on this guy as well, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but I think they're grinding the blades a little bit thinner than they were previously. You got a full flat grind here, and you kind of step in a little bit consistently on each side to kind of reduce the thickness of the spine a little bit. It's going to make it even slicier than before. Again, unless I'm just imagining things, but it's got a real nice slicey look going on. Linen micarta handles, red and black layers. There's a little bit of kind of white fluff showing right now. It's not really fluffy, but those of you who are familiar with micarta, you know what I'm talking about. As you use this, as the oils of your hands really kind of get in and permeate the outer layer of this, it's going to look even cooler than it does now. We've also got black hardware all along, liners, milled pocket clip there to keep things nice and subtle. You do get a little bit of non-black here at the stop pin, the lanyard post, and kind of that back barrel spacer, but pretty subtle overall. Liner lock, as I mentioned, and these guys fold up nice and slim. What I like about this kind of version of the Ria is it's very unlike any of the other Rias that are out there right now. It has a character kind of all of its own, but it still has lines, kind of like a classic pocket knife without mimicking classic pocket knife patterns, but you get kind of a more modern look and much more modern feeling action. You've got a liner lock here, ball bearings in the pivot, and the placement of the thumb stud in relation to the pivot allows you to get just a really satisfying pop whenever you go to deploy that blade. All right, next up we've got a bunch of CIVIVI stuff actually. Big new drops from them. First off is the Bo, which is a Brad Zinker design. Marbled carbon fiber with blue accents or red accents. So you get kind of that red and black as well, like we were just looking at. These guys come in about $80 right now. For that, a lot of the specs are actually kind of similar to that Ria we just looked at least in terms of the dimensions and the black and red if you get the other version. But we've got a sub 3-inch blade. We've got Nitro V steel on this particular knife. Thin, full flat ground, stone washed finish. Just a great slicing profile. Almost all belly. You've got just maybe a hint of straight edge here, but it looks like it's just a continuous curve going on up. So you're going to be able to get a really nice slice as you go around. You've got a little bit of contouring to that marbled carbon fiber, so it locks into the hand pretty nicely. It doesn't feel blocky or chunky. Deep carry pocket clip, right side tip up only in this case. Liner lock again, like that CJRB, and ball bearings in the pivot as well. You can kind of see a lot of that Zinker DNA, I think maybe more when it's closed up even than when it's opened, just due to the way that blade folds into the handle very neatly. But then when you're ready to deploy, the ball bearings and the excellent detent on there lets it flip open very well indeed. Great everyday carry if you don't need something that needs to take on medium or heavier duty tasks. This is more of a light duty knife for sure. Great gentleman's or executive knife, absolutely as well. Next up, we've got another Nitro V flipper, and this is the second frame lock to be released by CIVIVI. This is the Perf, and it comes in at 68 bucks. Now, Nitro V, if you're not familiar with it, you can kind of think of it as a spin-off of Sandvik's 13C26, which is similar to AEBL steel. Really good, tough stainless steel, takes a really fine edge. Nitro V is, again, a spin-off of that. Kind of similar to 14C28N, was also a spin-off of those steels, but this is not identical to that. And we're getting into the weeds right now, and Thomas's eyes are glazing over as I just throw numbers out. Suffice it to say, you're getting a very fine-grained steel here. It's going to hold an edge very nicely. It's going to be pretty darn tough as well, and you're going to be able to maintain it pretty easily also. Really, really good option in knives in this price range, I think. Absolutely. Blade length, 3 1/4 inches. Sorry, about 3 1/8. Nice drop point, full flat grind. Man, we're seeing some really good slicey profiles here, one after the other. I really dig that. Like all CIVIVIs, these edges are nice and thin, keeps things very narrow behind the edge, so you're going to be able to slice really, or cut initially really nicely, and you've got a very sharp edge as well. Nice chamfered edges on the spine. These last two knives had that as well, so it's going to be nice and comfortable to maneuver and manipulate with some of your fingertips if you get out there onto the blade itself. Of course, the handles definitely are the kind of most distinctive part of this blade. Kind of shades of something like the old school Gerber paraframe, and it is kind of an old school knife at this point. It's been around quite a while. But the quality jump here is kind of going up to the next tier though, for sure. Now the handles are stainless steel. The skeletonization does remove a bit of weight. It's not a featherweight knife, but for a stainless steel frame locked knife, it's not that bad, only about 2.8 ounces, which given the materials is pretty impressive actually. Deep carry pocket clip. It is reversible in this case, tip up on either side, and frame lock and ball bearings in the pivot again. Nice profile when it's closed up. Nice action when you're ready to open. All right, so last week I showed you the button lock Elementum, the newest version of that recently landed. We've still got some of those and some of the other versions of the button lock Elementum, but it's not the only Elementum news. We've also got the new Tanto version, which comes in the classic size, the standard size of this knife. And priced like the original as well. These are about $53 right now, so right in that ballpark. Now, apart from the Tanto blade shape, specs read pretty much identical. You've got D2 steel under 3 inches, liner lock, ball bearings in the pivot, right side tip up only deep carry clip. This particular one, we've got the brown matrix micarta on the sides rather than G10. We've got black coating going on as well, which we didn't really see on the original Elementum. Until now, we've got a couple G10 colorways with black blades with the standard drop point. I just don't have one here in front of me, but those we'll also make sure to leave a link to below. I really like the Tanto shape here. It has just something visually going on that I really like. Both sections of edge are pretty much straight. You don't have a lot of curvature to the belly like some Tantos tend to have these days, but I like the way they dropped the spine here. It's got a nice visual bit of tension and flow out near the tip. I don't know, keeps things looking quite nice. So if you're looking for something that has a little bit more piercing capability than the standard drop point, this isn't going to be a night and day difference, but you do get a little bit more pokiness here. But you can also do some like scrapey or chisel-y tasks with that front leading edge, which can have some utility in day-to-day use for sure. And then action, classic Elementum, ball bearings, nice flipping. It's a CIVIVI after all. They all pretty much do that very well. Next up, we've got a new version of the Exarch front flipper from CIVIVI with some brushed copper handles. Very striking look paired with the 9CR based Damascus blade. Front flipper, like I mentioned, these are about 93 bucks, 3 1/4 inches or so on the blade, hollow grind, keen edge again. Oh, that's actually one thing I should mention about the Tanto Elementum is flat grinds on this guy as opposed to the hollow of the drop point versions. So that could be another reason you might want to choose this over the drop point if you prefer kind of the flat grind character as opposed to a hollow grind in your cutting experience. But anyway, back to the new Exarch. Very classy presentation here. A bit of gentleman's vibes, bit of kind of steampunky vibes as well whenever we see this kind of color combination, which Tanto Elementum also with brushed copper or brushed brass, I think, right now as well. Links in the description as always. But a very cool knife, this Exarch. The front flipping works pretty well. I'm never the best at front flippers, but this one I tend to have a pretty decent time on, especially when I get used to it again. It is going to take up a little bit of weight in your pocket due to the copper there, but it's not going to take up a ton of space. I mean, you can see how it really folds in very, very discreetly. All right, next up we've got a knife with kind of a similar profile, but a very different character, and that's a new collaboration with CIVIVI and Ferrum Forge. They've done a few at this point. This one, kind of the least Ferrum Forge-y looking knife I've seen come out from those guys, but a very cool looking little knife. About 60 bucks, 3-inch blade. Again, another common size we're seeing today. A 10CR series stainless steel, which is essentially equivalent to the Japanese VG10 steel. That gives you a pretty good bump up in performance, and the fact that they're still bringing this in on a $60 knife is pretty good. One thing you're not going to get, however, is a lock. This is one of the detent joint non-locking folders, but it is also a front flipper. And this one, I can do that pretty well because unlike something like the Exarch, where the front flipper is decidedly biased out towards the front, what you have here on the Stylum is a little bit more of a ramp top flipper type of situation. Because of the jimping and because it follows the curvature there, you can kind of come at it with a sideways thumb opening from the top. And that tends to work pretty easily for me. The edge is nice and thin per usual. You've got a flat grind on this guy, stonewashed finished again. Micarta on these handles, a few different colors. This is the brown, couple of liners, standard deep carry pocket clip, which is right side tip up only, and it actually buries in underneath the handle scale. It's not just screwed in to the outside. Kind of cool. Going to keep things nice and subtle as well with the narrow profile of that clip. Now you don't get any kind of extra finger protection to keep this from closing. Just remember, this style of knife takes a little bit of care to use, so do be aware of that. But if you hold it here kind of right around the pivot, not behind in the index finger, if you're kind of choking up into that, quote unquote choil area, you will have a little bit of help there. If it does come undone, your finger's going to be a little bit in the way to keep it from closing too rapidly. So that's it for the CIVIVI Ferrum Forge, but we've also got 3 models here with the actual Ferrum Forge brand label on it. And the first is the mini Archbishop, which comes in about $75. Really cool knife and quality. They're not coming out and saying it as far as I know, but I'm almost certain these are made by CIVIVI also. Just the way they're put together, the quality of it feels very similar to that. I could be wrong about that. Don't, if you know any information, love to hear it. Drop it in the comments. But in terms of the feel and quality, it's definitely on par with those things. Blade here, 2 3/4 inch, 9CR series stainless, so roughly 440C in that kind of ballpark. And you've got a short flat grind on this very signature profile. This is a very Ferrum Forge looking knife as opposed to that Stylum, which is a bit of a departure for them. We've got various G10 colors that can be had. Deep carry pocket clip, single screw holds it in and it is milled in, but it is right side tip up only. Liner lock, ball bearings, kind of the same greatest hits that CIVIVI likes to use. And although on the larger Archbishop designs, this wide thumb cutout, you can kind of do that thumb flick, middle finger flick. This one's a little bit small if you've got slightly larger than average hands like myself to be able to kind of manage that. You can certainly standard thumb open it very easily or take advantage of those bearings and do the flip. Standard grip's about 3 fingers. You've got a fairly wide finger choil there out front if you want to choke up. I do have big fingers as well, so I'm not comfortable kind of gorilla gripping up there, but you can choke up with a fingertip for some finer control of the blade tip. Next up, we've got the Prolix from Ferrum Forge. This guy comes in at 90 bucks, and we've got Nitro V on this blade as well. Similar story to that mini Archbishop. You've got G10s with a flipper, the tip up, or sorry, the deep carry tip up pocket clip, the ball bearings, similar handle size as well, even though it's a different shape. You can kind of get 3 fingers, maybe 3.5 for me, and you've got that choil leading up as well to this nice sheep's foot blade profile. And it's fairly pointy for a sheep's foot. You know, some may say it's starting to verge on Wharncliffe territory, but I don't think it is quite that much. But you're still going to be able to pierce pretty well with it. And of course, with that mostly straight edge, you're really going to be able to push through some heavier cuts, even though this is kind of a smaller knife. But you've got a nice profile for that sort of thing. And then any kind of scoring as well, the tip of that's going to drag very nicely. Next up, we've got a fixed blade from Ferrum Forge, and this is the Lackey, and it comes in about $66 with a D2 blade and G10 scales. Blade itself, bit of a broken record, I feel like right now, sub 3 inches, and actually kind of similar to that bow we looked at earlier, almost all curve, even more so, all curvature to the edge itself. Has, for a smaller blade, a bit of a slicey profile, and a pretty acute tip, almost, it's technically, I guess, a drop point. It's not quite a straight edge or a straight spine at the back. Well, actually, hang on. Yeah, no, just a hint of drop to it. Very close, though. Now, the G10 is kept pretty minimal. It's not super thick, so it's not going to add a ton of bulk, but it is going to give you just a little bit more control. And the edges are kind of very steeply rounded over, so it's not chunky or blocky at all. But it nestles in pretty nicely. If you wanted more grip, you could certainly pop these scales off. You've got bolts here and do like a paracord wrap if you wish. But I really like I like the compromise here. It's just enough. You know, it's not the kind of knife that you're going to be gorilla gripping and pushing through some things. This is more about fine control and smaller cuts. Now, as far as the sheath, you've got a small Kydex piece right here, and they've set it up, or they've included stuff so you could carry it either on your neck, around your neck, or on your belt. You've got a breakaway ball chain, and it's going to be nice and minimal when carried like that. It's not a big pancake style Kydex sheath. You've got the taco style fold over on the spine. They've also given you a pair of straps with pull-the-dot snaps on it. So basically you would take the hardware here, you could fix it to the grommet right here so that this is sticking through, and you can carry it horizontally very easily on the belt with this pair of straps. All right, now we come to WE Knife Company, the parent company of CIVIVI, and this is probably the WE that I was most looking forward to so far this year, at least from the stuff we've seen unveiled so far. It's a Ray Laconico design called the Espirit. A couple different versions. This one right here is about $216 and change. There's an all titanium version as well that's about $219, so just about the same price, but really cool shape. And the reason I like it is, you know, the handles really are designed to be gripped. Sometimes, you know, I think folding knives, ergonomics and comfort in the hand are, it's hard for them to match a fixed blade. I mean, it's always going to be the case. But this one does what it can to give you something really nice to hold onto. You've got a very natural shape where your fingers would be wrapping around, and you've got some contour to the carbon fiber on the front and the titanium on the back. Nice kind of satin feeling finish to it. Not super glossy, but not rough at all. And it just feels very, very, very comfortable to my hands. If you want a little bit more texture, the titanium one does have a little bit of an orange peel texture to it, which is quite nice, and something a little bit different as well. But it's backed up by, or it backs up, a very nice blade shape for EDC uses as well. 20 CV blade steel, 3¼ inches. The grinds are really nice on it as well. We've got a flat grind with a pretty deep swedge going on, ready to slice and ready to move for sure. Very thin edge as well. They do the same thing on the CIVIVI knives as the WE knives here with the very thin edges. No flipper in this case, but we do have a front flipper going on. Ball bearings in the pivot, and this one, it's a little bit trickier for me to operate. Can't get used to it though, but for me, I think I'd probably just be using those dual thumb studs every time because the pop on that is really excellent. We also got a deep carry pocket clip here on the back, and it's milled and recessed into the handle, and you've got flush mounted screws. This is going to be a very, very nice knife to take in and out of your pocket, and a hidden lanyard post there if you want to attach a fob or something to spice this up or make it easier to extract, since you do have that nice deep carry capability built in. We'll stick with some marbled carbon fiber stuff. We've got new Micro Evos from SharpByDesign. These are about $370. These are moving pretty quickly, however, so if these are sold out by Thursday, I do apologize. This is one where not quite sure if it's going to make it or not, but still a really cool knife that I wanted to show off. Now, if you had to guess the blade length, it's another roughly 3-inch blade going on here. M390, very cool looking clip point shape, and very cool looking kind of dual fullers that spring out of that little thumb cutout in the towards the spine of the blade. Very distinctive looking, very classy. Handles are black titanium. We've got marbled carbon fiber inlays on both sides, a little bit of contour here as well, and a sculpted titanium pocket clip. Holds pretty nicely for such a small knife. Another good, slightly more aggressive gentlemanly option since you've got the all black hardware going on, and the flipping action on these are pretty cool. You've got a patented, I think, patented detent action going on. It's not just a detent ball. He actually mills a small ramp into the inside there to give a very crisp and consistent feel to all of these designs. Very, very cool. But yeah, I'm really liking some of these, some of the kind of echoes in the song we're hearing on some of these knives today, like kind of a upgraded alternative option in kind of a similar space to that bow that we looked at earlier. If you can't afford the $370 for this particular guy, it's good to have options. All right, next up on the marbled carbon fiber train, we've got a restock of Buck's 2021 limited edition Buck 110. These come in about $200 right now. And you've got a few upgrades over kind of the standard full-sized 110 and full thickness 110. Most obvious, of course, is that marbled carbon fiber. And the handles also, rather than having brass or a heavier steel, we've actually got aluminum bolsters and backbone to these handles. So definitely a lot lighter than the standard 110. Let's see, we're about 4.8 ounces on this guy. How much does the standard 110 weigh? Give me a second here. 7.2 ounces, so a pretty significant reduction there just by the material swap, but you still have that nice full-sized grip of the original 110. This isn't like one of the slims that are out now that carry easier in the pocket for sure, but don't have the same hand-filling grip as these guys do. We've also got a pocket clip upgrade here, 2 standoff posts kind of raised up here at the back, holds it pretty well, backlock per usual, and we've got a blade steel upgrade as well. Actually, let's show it on the back. S45 VN on this guy. Pretty cool to see. We've also got a thumb stud. This is similar to stuff like the quick studs out there, which has long been kind of an aftermarket add-on that you could put on your 110 to enable one-hand opening. Similar style of thing here, but we've got it in black, and you've got a nice, what's the word, diagonal section here, an angled cut on the leading edge, so that it's a little bit easier to grab than just a perfectly round stud. You're able to really lock in and really push the blade open, no problem. All right, one more marbled carbon fiber, and it is a Swiss Army knife. And actually, they're calling it forged carbon fiber, which I'm starting to see pop up, not just in the knife world. So I think marbled carbon fiber, I'm pretty sure it's the same stuff. I mean, it looks just about the same to me. It's kind of a snappier name, though. I do like it. And this is a 2021 limited edition as well of the SwissChamp, and it comes in about $400. Quite pricey for a Swiss Army knife, but this is probably mostly for the collectors out there. Now, you've still got all just the standard SwissChamp tools, but you do also have an actual blade steel upgrade. This is a Damast steel blade going on. So you've got a powder metallurgy Swiss Army knife. Now, the pattern here is the Bjorkman's twist pattern, so it really kind of offsets against that forged carbon fiber quite nicely. Now, of course, if you're looking for one of these SwissChamps for utility, $400 might be a bit hard to swallow. Just remember, you can get these for less than $100 in the standard versions, but they make millions of them. Maybe millions? A metric million of them? A lot of them, anyway. These are not going to be made in nearly the same quantities, and again, this is definitely aimed at the collectors out there. And It's a pretty cool nod. It'd be pretty cool to see some of this forged carbon fiber stuff winding up on some more production stuff from them. I doubt it will, but a man can dream, can he? It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd have a reason to buy a new Tinker.
You have a Tinker?
Yeah, that was my first Swiss Army knife.
I thought it was like a faux army knife. Swiss.
Well, that was my first actual.
Ah, yes. That'd be a good reason to buy a new Tinker. I agree. But anyway, next up, we've got some new knives from GiantMouse. This is the ACE Grand, which is one of their larger knives, hence the name Grand, and this guy comes in about $195 right now. Blade steel, we've got Elmax, 3 3/8 of an inch long. Very, very recognizable blade shape from Jesper Vaknes and Jens Anso, who of course collaborate on this brand. I mean, this has a lot of shades of that old, the Boker F3, I think. Yeah, definitely going on. Full flat grind, or very nearly full flat grind, I should say. Clip point with the decent swedge there. Micarta handles, contoured, not flat, and inset liners with a liner lock, which is pretty cool to see on this handle. It feels really good. I've got plenty of room for all 4 of my fingers on there, no problem. Really have a nice working tough finish and working tough feel to the blade, with some refinements going on. You know, being an Italian-made knife, we've got things like a crown spine, which we pretty much just come to expect from all the Italian makers out there. A little bit of a serration up there at the front, a little bit of jimping up there where you can place your index finger or choke back or and use your thumb to push through some stuff. We've also got a wire deep carry pocket clip, a little bit thicker than just, for instance, the wire that Spyderco uses on most of their clips, so it's got a little bit more rigidity going on, and that is reversible as well. As for the action on these guys, ball bearings in the pivot, so the friction is nice and low. Very easy to open with the thumb. One of the things I like about what they did with the thumb cutout here is they didn't overly chamfer the inside edge, which can sometimes make it a little slippery to open with your thumb. They left it almost crisp, which means it's going to be very easy to open without having to fumble at all. And I haven't tried to do the middle finger flick yet at all. Not bad. Not bad. Works pretty well if you like to deploy your blade that way also. Now on the smaller side from GiantMouse, we've got the ACE Riv. This guy has about a 2.5 inch blade, 2.44 actually. And the price on this one with the full titanium handle is about $220. Again, we've got Elmax, a little bit thinner blade stock than the Grand that we just looked at. And again, a almost full flat grind, so it's got a good slicey profile. Bit of a modified sheep's foot, I would say. So you're still going to be able to do the tip scoring and dragging thing very nicely. But you have maybe a slightly more friendly slicing profile. Certainly very good looking to the eye. Again, we've got a wire pocket clip, not completely deep carry in this case, and it is not reversible, so this is a right side only clip, unfortunately, for the lefties out there. Nice gold accent there on the back spacer. Frame lock here. This is not a liner locking knife, but again, ball bearings in the pivot, and it is a little bit on the smaller side, so I have to adjust my grip a little bit when I go to flip, but the flip is very, very satisfying. Cool gentleman's profile if you want something not quite like, you know, thinner and more elegant, shall we say? Maybe something, you know, like that bow from before. If you're looking for something with a little bit more personality, shall we say, definitely a very cool option to check out right here. All right, so we opened the video with a tactical knife. We're going to end with some tactical stuff too. Much anticipated Pentagon OTF auto from SOG is in the building, coming in about $350 right now. And a very noteworthy OTF, because in terms of like the production sphere, this is, or at least the mass market production sphere, when you unless you're going to spend like $1,000 or more, pretty much the only OTF out there I can think of that has virtually no blade play or wiggle when the blade is open. You might be able to get just a hint going on, but this thing is super, super solid in that open position. Very cool to see. They also make a big deal about there being no rattle when you shake this knife in the open and in the closed positions. I can hear just a hint of something, but it's very, very much quieter than most of the other OTFs out there. But you've got a pretty cool design as well. One of my favorite parts, I think, is the actual thumb switch. What's cool about it, first from a usability standpoint, you've essentially got 3 sections or 2 peaks, so you get 3 ramped sections for you to push on depending on your grip or your hand size. You'll be able to use whichever one is easiest for you on the open and the close, whether you're using the outside ramps or that inside pad. Works really well. But the other thing I like about it, just kind of a nice detail that, you know, let's be honest, they borrowed a little bit from some of those high-end OTFs out there, is it looks like the switch itself is floating. That's because the track underneath the switch, because the switch is oversized, is completely obscured. Makes it look really good, and it's also going to work out to help keep like debris and stuff out a little bit better than if the track was exposed. And especially on something with a complex mechanism like that, you don't want dirt and grime and stuff getting inside your knife. Now the design is also completely symmetrical in the hand. You've got that symmetrically shaped handle, little bit of the wasp shape going on, or at least it isn't actually, it's straight edge, but it has a little bit of kind of a visual tie-in to that old style of dagger. Pocket clip is folded over, but not super deep carry, so you can still get to this in a hurry if you need to. And we've got a S35 VN blade, about 3 3/4 of an inch long, double edged, so you're doubling your edge holding on the blade like this. And of course, they're done very sharp right out of the box as well. Really, really cool design. Definitely one of the ones, not just from SOG, that I've been most looking forward to this year, but one of the ones I've been most looking forward to having on the market from anyone out there this year. Really, really cool. Last but not least, the Talwar is back from Cold Steel. Very, very cool and very, very aggressive knife, coming in about $247. 5.5 inch blade here of S35 VN. You can get it in plain edge or the fully serrated version right here if you really want to rip through some stuff. You've got essentially a 1.5 length handle, at least for my hand size. G10, thick enough to get a solid grip on, but not being like super, super chunky, at least in comparison with the overall length of the blade. And then of course, a couple of Andrew Demko innovations on this knife. You've got the triad lock for an extremely high amount of strength, and you've got his ambidextrous thumb plate here at the spine. So you can open that with your thumb very easily. And it also works as a pocket deployer if you catch that on the hem of your pocket intentionally when you're drawing the knife, and it'll rotate that out. Really, really impressive. I was gonna say to Thomas though, wouldn't it be cool if they made an Espada XL sized version of this knife?
Yes.
It'd be pretty cool. But until then, you'll have to make do with a mere 5.5 inches on this guy. But it's going to work very nicely. You've got the hardware behind it to make a long-lasting blade. You've got that excellent steel for a long-lasting edge, S35 VN, like I mentioned, and definitely leans into kind of the tactical and martial arts background of a lot of Cold Steel's designs. But if you're just looking for a big slicing knife, it's going to do the job in a utility aspect as well. All right, that's all I've got to show you today. Make sure to let me know your favorites down in the comments. And to get your hands on any of these guys, we'll leave links in the description to take you over to the KnifeCenter. Make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program so you can earn some free money to spend on your next knives when you buy one of these knives today. I'm David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter, signing off. See you next time.